team owner Robert Kraft, team president Jonathan Kraft have a meeting with Bill Belichick. That is currently scheduled for Monday. And they're going to be looking for some answers as to why things have fallen off so dramatically this season. Robert Kraft has been very disappointed with the way this season has unfolded naturally. And people that are close to him relayed to me that disappointment has been so extreme to the point that he has strongly considered moving on from Belichick. But these people also tell me that no decision has been made at this point, and that's why this final meeting will be so important.
It does add to it, like how the meeting is looming and hanging over everybody's heads.
All right, so taking Reese out of the equation, who we all love. So this has nothing to do with him. I mean, how is it possible to run $1 billion organization and have this meeting on Monday be in any way effective?
It tells you that it's over.
Correct, right?
It tells you that it's over.
All right, because Reese makes a point to say that it's not.
But that tells you that it's over, though, because there's look. Let's think logically here. This is not a Black Monday decision.
No.
This is not Chicago or Washington where the owner may go to sleep on Sunday night and say, you know what, I'm going to see how I feel on Monday morning. This is not that. And it's insulting to Belichick and a lot of other people to think that that's what this would be.
Well, it's insulting to Kraft, too.
It's a decision that's not made over days or weeks. It's made over months.
Like, you haven't been out of the country all season. Like, you've been, in the building. Like, so, you would know how – you would think you would know how the operation's running and have made a decision over the past 25 weeks.
I advocated because I thought it was over after the bye week. And I said it. Like, the trip to Germany, how Robert Kraft was telling everyone – and this isn't just publicly, privately was telling everyone how important this was to him and how the team had to show well and how he was at the walkthrough. And he was seen with Mayo at the walkthrough, which got a lot of people's attention. And all of this, like, I thought like in the moment that it was over after Germany, right? Like, I felt that way. And that's why I came on here that week and said, this is when he should go to Bill. This is when you go to Bill, and out of respect to Bill, and I know Bill probably doesn't want to have that conversation because you're in the middle of the season, but at that point, you have to go to Bill and say, how do you want to do this? And he may look at you with three heads. And Zoe, I remember talking to Zoe about, like, I brought this up with Zoe, and Zoe, did his Bill voice, and it's probably right, like, where it was like, how do you want to do what? Right? Like, where Bill would be defiant. You were in there that day, right? Like, how you want to do what?
How you want to do what?
Right, like, which is exactly how Bill would react. But
well, that makes things really. So Bill loves to sit in just discomfort.
Be obtuse?
No. Well, he loves being obtuse, but that's when he has the upper hand in a situation. Like, you're going in to get fired. You want to drag it out?
But that's the thing is, like, I did. That's
how
why
do you want to handle it? Here's how I want to handle it.
How do you want to handle this over the next 2 months?
Right.
And Bill, we can let it play out and see where it goes, or like, we can discuss the future and what that might look like. This season is going nowhere, and there's not a lot that can happen over the next 2 months that's going to change my mind. So something needs to change here. Like, you would do that if you wanted to hear him out. You would do that if you wanted to study, like, okay, what would this look like if we hung on to him? If you wanted to go through some sort of process of evaluating what this would look like in a different context, you would want Bill in on that early. And you would want to spend the last couple months of the season, because you're the owner. So you don't have to worry about game planning or evaluating or any of that. If you're the owner, that would give you the opportunity to kind of like look at different models and say, okay, how will we make this work and bring Bill in on it? If you're just going to fire him, maybe you don't have to do that.
And you're right. That would have been the time to do it. They were going into the bye week after the Germany game. And I'm not saying it would have changed the rest of the season. They were 2-8 at that point, but at least it takes away that ambiguity. And
they're set up in such a way that is so different from the rest of the NFL and so different from, like, where the NFL has gone over the last 24 years. And it has worked for them at a very high level. But they are so different that if you were going to suggest to Bill Belichick changing things and modernizing things, you'd be bringing about a lot of change. So it would be irresponsible not to go to Bill early with that. if that was the plan. If the plan was, we're going to give Bill a shot here, and maybe we know the front office needs changing, we know analytics needs changing, we know we need to change all of these things, and we want to maybe give Bill a shot to be a part of that. Wouldn't you do that way ahead of time? Like, January is no time to do that.
To do the wholesale changes that we think.
Unless you're not including him on the wholesale changes.
All right, so Bert, the article in the Herald solidifies it, but I mean, people believe Belichick's still a good coach. I mean, there's no argument he's a terrible evaluator of talent, and I mean, he just is not good at drafting or particularly good in free agency. He doesn't retain his own draft picks. So we've made the decision that he's gone here in New England, and then you will hear talking heads or ex-players talk about that. I heard him this morning. Someone this morning, I have no idea who it was, but they were like, if I got to gamble with someone, I'm gambling with Belichick. It was 71 years old, okay, but a lot of people are saying that. Would he be willing to take a job where he didn't have ultimate say in personnel?
I think it would have to be somewhere else. And I've brought up, and I've thought a lot about this because I have brought up the idea that Kraft could go to him and say, look, we're reimagining the organization. This is what I'm talking about, right? And again, I think it'd be irresponsible not to go to Bill early if this was the idea, right? Because I think if this is the idea, then you want him in on it and you want him invested in it, right? So I think if you were going to do this, then the time to do it was when you made the decision we can't go forward with this, but we might want to include Bill on it. Where you go to him and you say, look, Bill, you're not going to report to the new GM, but he's not going to report to you either. We are reorganizing football operations. We're going to set it up in a certain way where you're both going to report to me, and we are taking personnel power away from you. I just think, if you're going to do that, you have to include Bill on it early. And I just don't know how you go forward with, and I lost track of your question now, Fred.
It would be if you're another, that's fine. If you're another team.
Oh, if you're another team.
You go, let me just phrase it this way. So you're Belichick. Everyone says he desperately wants this record, the coaching record.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to do that, I got to coach. I'm a good coach probably still, but a terrible GM. I've always had this power. I have this. I have this ego. I should be able to do what I want to do. Would he work for a general manager? Would he take a job as just a coach?
So I laid out that whole thing before I forgot what your question was.
That's all right. It was that hard hitting.
But I do think if you're gonna do that in the place that you're in, it's gonna take a lot of massaging to get there. It's gonna take a lot of work to get through everything that it would take to reorganize the organization and get him to buy in on it. I think if you're going somewhere else, that's different. And I just think the best example again is Andy Reid, where Andy Reid had all the power that Bill has in Philadelphia, in New England, in Philadelphia. And he decided after he got fired there, I don't want to do all of that anymore. It was his decision. He said, he went to Kansas City. He hired a GM he trusted in John Dorsey. And it was massively different. And yes, he has a major say in every decision they make there. But he's not doing everything he was in Philadelphia. He's not doing what Belichick does in New England. It's a different setup. And I think the reason it worked is because there wasn't somebody coming into the Eagles and telling Bill, this is how we're going to do things. Yeah. It was him and a new general manager going somewhere, and they were coming in at the same entry point under the same understanding. I almost think for those reasons it would have to be somewhere else.